and this seems very interesting to analyze change. We've been going from in the 19th century a society of aristocrats to a democratic society through all Tocqueville said on democracy in America, and then to social mobility. So it seems, and I think I'm not wrong in saying that it seems that we tend to become another society thanks to the mobility of identities, that is, the capacity different individuals have to, namely, whenever they can, to choose and to get away from standards and to base themselves on an ambivalent culture that has a possibility to combine the contraries. I'm sorry if I'm saying this, but for men, for example, to combine work and family that used to be the role of women before, namely, of course, referring to a paradoxical culture that is being opposed to ambient standards and creates something different. So this society that is being created, this transition that is accompanied by a mobility of identities, is really interesting to help us understand the change. And with this, keeping in mind that before Tocqueville was saying that one may change his social status thanks to a representation of equal social reports. So we're not talking about men and women, but nowadays we're talking about a representation of equality relationships between men and women that's becoming more and more possible, and that will constitute a basis for the transition to another society. 5 minutes left. Okay. The next item is this society and is the risk. If you're not interested, I understand. So a future society is identified by finitude, by the reduction of energy resources by different countries who are producing countries, emerging countries. The dominating countries are the consuming countries, and we now feel that around this new environmental problem, this new the awareness we have at the scale of the planet, there are things that are changing, and namely, and this is my second point, the finitude of energetic resources, natural resources. This leads to criticize, to reconsider, to illustrate the failure of a culture, namely based on dominating the nature, on consumption, on the illusion of progress and of social progress itself, on an illusion of progress by growth. So all of this is losing its legitimacy. So before, we're talking about the patriarchy. It was losing its legitimacy in their first revolution, and it led to the mobility of identities. Now we could say that nowadays we see a trend towards the second point, that is the male revolution stemming from a loss of legitimacy of a growth model, an economic growth model, and an economic model and a growth model that is accompanied by a culture, would be in a finite world that is, if we look at what we were thinking before, that it was possible to consume endlessly. This is over. We're looking for meaning. I'm sorry, I didn't follow my slides. And we're not dealing with having this We are looking for a meaning for the being, and the persons I've interviewed have told me there were three categories. There were those who were reacting to the environmental problems. There were those that were not reacting to the environmental problems. There were the defensive people, and also what the American called, they wrote a book on this some 15 years ago, the creative people. And the creative people are an interesting profile, but I am just speeding up, so we will rediscuss that later on. So we are experiencing a second male revolution after the first revolution. This second revolution the first revolution was marked by a change in the dialectics of men and women reports, and the second one is illustrated by the criticism of the growth model and value hierarchy symbols and a culture that accompanies all of this. So my third point is that we're now in a phase where we're on constructing models that seem to be universal and sustainable. And the young generations are trying to build their own subjectivity and give an orientation to their life, including in emerging countries. They are experiencing the first male revolution by claiming their rights against totalitarian regimes, as we can feel when we're traveling to these different countries. Now, there are avenues. I'm sorry, I'm not synchronized totally, but I'm not changing my slides when I should, so I'm sorry about that. So we are now looking at the relationship with the environment that is the central vector for alliance, social, cultural transformation, economic transformation. Second, this environment has no borders, so is redefining the relations between the private, public, micro, macro. And third, the environment is similar to a collective asset, air, water, and etc. And consequent social dynamics, social relations, inequalities, we're talking about rights, unfairness policies, and different relations with the environment are reorganizing the social relations and are creating new inequalities, privileges between individuals and nations. Namely, as we see in the field of work. Friday I was with 250 business leaders and researchers and others, and the idea was to implement a parent charter, and namely with 150 companies. I mean, this is something we've been working on for a number of years, including very large companies like ADF, Citroën, etc., etc. Well, this idea that that's about time we change our society and that we give people a chance to better plan their work days, and namely for men, because the workers are also fathers, and it's not only a role that is for women.
So, Pierre Morin suggests that it is urgent to promote a model for recruitment in the workplace, taking into account, and here's a slide, taking into account the moral values of the candidates, its skills, regarding also relationships to others, including compassion, so that it's working for others, its idea of fairness and justice. Robert Castel, working on social policies, insists on the fact that we need to invent new types of social protection. I'm almost over. And Borisky talks about the collective return with the idea that this is a must because these objects, climatic change and proposed changes, poverty fight, have a global dimension. And they lead to an almost universal consensus. Chomsky insists on the necessity to revalue empathy. He is against this so-called economic rationality, the value of the market, underemployment. He denounces this global illusion neoliberalism, which doesn't lead to economic growth, but only increases power of the few. So this requires a new approach of society, a new analysis. This is ongoing. This is a passionate debate, and this gathers many people that are brainstorming about alternatives in relation, notably, to the taking into account of subjectivity and the new reference such as Stiglitz, reference to being happy, internal happiness, these types of notions, rather than only to the GDP economic indexes. So all this means that, according to me, this is going to have impacts on the masculine culture. It's over, my time is over, I know, sorry. But this is why I talked about it, because I think it's an important change. The humanity will have to stop its conquest struggle, and thus there are new emergent inspirations looking for new models, new symbols, and all of this is a problem for the male figure that doesn't want to change. He doesn't want to change his culture and so on. So we see this culture of economic growth, unlimited growth. Well, that's something which is going to change, and this is good for the new type of man, modern man, if you could say. Sorry, I skipped over. So this is finally a little survey we have done with young people between 20 and 30 years of age. What's interesting, when you ask them about happiness, immediately they refer to the need of having a relationship. No happiness will be possible without, let me find exactly what they say. If you give me 2 seconds, just 2 seconds, I can tell you more about what they said about happiness. Oh, now we're back at the beginning. Sorry about that. It's almost there, yes. Oh, my goodness. My goodness. Not this one. It's almost there. Sorry about that. The one before. There it is. There it is. Good. Great. We did find it. So let me end here. I would just refer to this qualitative survey, including 120 young people between 20 and 25 years old, including boys and girls, with the idea of sharing. They said that you have to share to find happiness. Happiness is only accessible if you share it. That's the first thing they said. The second thing is that you have to be able to be satisfied with what you have in life. The third point, you have to be yourself, to have your thinking in agreement with yourself. And I'm happy about these conclusions. Thank you so much for bearing with me. Thank you. I'm done. Thank you.